Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be making the school uniform bow from Danny Choo's website. So these are the instructions that are given with the pattern. The only problem is I don't know Japanese and these instructions are looking very fun. So we're gonna figure this out together. I don't know yet. So these are the pattern pieces. There's 3 parts, so 1, 2, and 3. And then you also need an extra strip that is 12 centimeters long, as the directions state. So that strip there is down the bottom. So I'm just removing all the pattern pieces and we're going to be overlocking all around the edges, mostly because this fabric really frays a lot. So I'm starting by grabbing this little piece and folding it in half lengthways. Because it is so small, I just figured I would hand sew this. Up to you if you want to do this with the sewing machine or hand sewing it like I did. I was just not in the mood to use the machine on this. I'm using a back stitch to go all the way down that long end. And by doing a back stitch, it just means going in and then going back around so that it is fully done, just like a sewing machine. And once you reach the end, you just want to finish that off however you want, as long as it's nice and secure. And then we're going to struggle. It is a struggle, a really big struggle, but we're going to be turning this little thing inside out. So I'm using a loop turner to help me out. It is still a huge struggle. I did overlock this because of the fraying, but I do wonder if that is what made it a lot harder compared to not doing it. Yeah, if you don't want to overlock, that is fine. Just check with your fabric. I had no choice. I had to overlock, but it did make this whole process incredibly hard. But as you can see, it did work. I got it turned inside out, and this is only the beginning. We get to do this a few more times, something similar. Anyway, you fold that little tube on its own, just like that, and we're going to be sewing down that little side. Yeah, I had a few strings here extra, so I just tied those up together before cutting them off. But we're just going to be folding that in half and we're going to sew down that short end. And because it's even smaller now, again, I did it by hand. Although there's a lot of layers, so maybe like a thimble will help you get it through. So it was time to turn that little tiny loop. And it was difficult, and determination gets you only that far and it's just really hard. I even took the scissors to help me turn, since it still had to take the other fabric. But let me just check what the instructions were saying, because piece number 3 should have been folded in 4th. So to the middle, and folding it in the center. That at least gives the same width as what I've just done, but it probably would have made life easier than what I've done. Because at least this way around, you can just stitch down the side and leave it at that. In any case, let's just continue on what we are actually needing to do. So both piece number 1 and piece number 2, we're going to be folding in half and pinning this in place. So we're actually going to be sewing all the way around, just leaving a little gap in the center so we can turn it around. So before we're going to turn these pieces, we're just going to remove any of the bulk from the corners. So just cutting those and rounding them out. So it's really important on small scale to remove any and all bulk when possible and using narrow seams. And then it's time to turn this inside out. So I'm just trying to use the loop turner to help me grab onto a corner so I can get it through that little gap that I kept. It is a struggle turning all these pieces inside out. I did not enjoy this part at all. And once you get it all turned inside out or outside in again, you want to push those corners out, and that little piece in the back there, we're going to sew that closed. So I'm just using a needle and thread, and I'm going to do my best at doing like a ladder stitch. This just means going on the top there, just to the top layer on one side, and then going to the other side. And we're just going to continue this, and all the way at the end we're going to pull it nice and tight and we can finish it off. There's loads of tutorials on the letter stitch. I don't use it often, so I'm not the best, but I do my best anyway. And as you can see, that little piece, I did undo that final seam because I couldn't get it around. So I figured I would just undo it and we can redo that later if needed. Sorry about the going back and forth. Anyway, now we just have that long strip of fabric, the 12 centimeters that the instructions mentioned, and we're just gonna fold that in. So I'm just folding this in half, and I did pin this all the way, but we're actually going to leave a gap in the middle there. So we sewed down the little short edges as well as a little bit down the long edge. I left a very large gap, apparently, I just couldn't be bothered. So I am clipping those little corners again, removing bulk, and turning it back inside out, and I am using the loop turner again to help me out. And once both of those corners are turned back inside out, it is time to sew the really big gap closed. And to do this, I am using the letter stitch again that I mentioned before. And now we have this beautiful strip, and this is going to be the little neckband. No need to twist it like I'm doing now. So give that a good press just to keep it nice and flat, because it had a tendency to twist on me. Anyway, now it's time to put the bow together. Most fun, also most difficult bit. So we have the big piece for the bow, the smaller piece for the bow, and then we're on the back there, we're going to place the neckband. And that little tiny piece is gonna have to go around, and we're gonna have to somehow sew that closed. Yeah, it is a tight fit. Alright, well, I had a plan. I figured I would line up the two pieces that will create the bow and try and find the halfway point as best as possible, and I'm just gonna sew those two together. We're gonna start with that. At least then they won't move when I need them to be placed. So I'm just doing a really simple quick stitch. I am not going to bother about this since it is going to be hidden by that little blue piece, that little one on the table there. So I'm just going to whip that together, get that in place, and tie that off. And now I'm going to do my best to attach the rest. So this is a huge struggle, and I don't actually know what I would do next time. Just struggle through it again, I guess? But yeah, I'm using a little pin to try and help keep it in place. This is something that has to be hand sewed together. So well, we eventually got there, just pulling that tight, and then I determined that I had to turn that around. Good question, how? Very, very good question. How are we gonna do this? Okay, well, I managed to do it. How? Well, using the loop turner, we got it in there and got it turned around. I had to do that off camera, and I had to do it pulling everything. I had to do it really a lot of times before it finally worked. So I just want to keep it real for you. I struggled with this. Anyway, we're just gonna finish the bow off, and to finish that off, the two large pieces, the back of the bow there, are going to be pulled down together and stitched in place with a few small whip stitches. And this is actually what the instructions mentioned as well, to pull that together. So I'm just gonna listen and do what the instructions tell me to do. And with that done, it is time to do the final touch, which is getting the little snap button on there. And yeah, that is it for this. So I just decided to sew the first one on. Don't forget to measure it first before placing the second button. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, it really helps me out, and leave a comment down below on ideas and any questions you may have. I will happily answer those, and I'll see you all next time.